Hello, hello, hello. I am back. Dressing room 8. We are going to have a really interesting conversation today, all about fat jokes. I know, a little left center or a little off from the center, but I think it was something that really struck me, and I really wanted to talk about this earlier this year. So I'm glad that I've been able to move things around in the schedule, and now we're going to be talking about it. So yay, yay, yay. Hello, YouTube. Going YouTube live, going Facebook live, all at the same time. So as we get ready to, start the conversation, feel free to share, feel free to drop in and ask questions and thoughts and all that good jazz. Because hello, it is where I am in the world, it's a beautiful Saturday morning. I don't know where you are in the world. If you're on the East Coast, I believe it is hitting noon soon, so half midday. That's always really fun. And it's gonna be good. Fat jokes, right? Fat jokes. Who doesn't love talking about fat jokes? I think hopefully when people join and listen to the conversation, they can feel me on some of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this. And if you disagree and you're totally like, nope, Natasha, you're off base, feel free to share that in the comments. I want this to be a conversation. Every time I do these, it's conversational. So please tell me if you agree with me, tell me if you disagree, tell me anything. Tell me what you feel, because I'm passionate about this subject, and it's because generally I have found with humor that it can be more cruel and unnecessary than needs to be. So I wanted to talk about it. And as a person of color, as a fat person myself, I have some thoughts. I have some feelings about the situation. So let your girl know, it's going to be good. I have my notes. And like I said, yeah, definitely share this out, guys. And then we have just like a couple of minutes before we get started to get you caught up with me, what I've been up to. Pretty much, just living life. If you've been following along in the conversation, you know that I recently moved from New York, the East Coast, all the way out to Arizona, and it's been quite a shift in culture and daily activity and how I view my life and how I set up a regimen for myself. And overall, I am thrilled and excited because every day is a sunny day. I think every day we've been here, it's been like over 100 degrees, which if you don't like the heat, I know you're like, girl. But I like sunny days and I like the heat. I always said I'd always rather sweat than shiver. I get to swim every day. We have a pool, which is really a blessing. And I think that, now having that, I realize just the importance of having things like sunny days and swimming opportunities. It just like de-stresses you, and it just makes you just appreciate more of life, of nature. It's amazing. So far, so good. I've been busy. I've been, reading, learning, doubling down. If you recently got my newsletter that I sent today, you would read all about that and some of the resources that I really love. So if you don't have that newsletter and you're like, what is she talking about? I don't understand. Go to dressingroom8.com, and then you'll get in the loop and get looped into the next monthly newsletter. And you can always email me and be like, Natasha, what did you send? I don't understand. I'm missing. So I'm always here to help. And with that, it is time to begin. Welcome to the Are Fat Jokes Necessary program. Yes, I am doing a live stream about whether fat jokes are necessary. Why? A couple of reasons. But before I jump in, let's just get the intro in and started. If you don't already know me, Natasha Nurse, owner, co-founder of Dressing Room 8. What is Dressing Room 8? It's a coaching and consulting platform. Essentially, I wanted to create a business around 3 pivotal things that women and people generally need to do in their life. First, you have to think with clarity. You have to know what you want in this life and go after it. You have to dress with confidence. How you appear in life makes a difference, whether it's a Saturday run to the bank or it's that next job interview for your dream job. What you wear and how you present yourself matters. So let's talk about things like that. And then lastly, living with purpose. Too many people are living kind of like unconscious robots, and it's a little scary and sad. So I wanted to put out content and have guest content around the idea of living intentionally and making intentional choices, intentional spaces in your life. Intention matters. Jim Carrey said it best. And, just trying to further promote that idea so that people can live their best lives, right? And it's more than just a hashtag, but it's your reality. So that's me. That's Dressing Room 8. Why are we talking about fat jokes? Well, I'm not sure if you saw earlier, I believe the program either came out the end of last year or earlier this year, but it was a Netflix special called Comedians of the World. And there was an episode by Nicole Byer, who is like a famous comedian. And, you know, she did a great job overall. I think she had the audience laughing and they were all over having a good time. But what I was really concerned about is after watching her show, that episode, she had like 15 minutes of just fat jokes. It was the most amount of jokes I had ever heard in my entire life. And I was just floored. I was just like, oh, hell no. Right. And Nicole, she's a big girl too. She's a plus size woman, right? Not that it gives you an excuse to be like, oh, well, I'm fat, so I can make fun of fat people. I'm not sure about all that. But I think, you know, she actually went on to kind of she had an interview on vulture.com. If you check it out, just go to vulture.com and then just put in Nicole Byer and you'll see her interview. And she talks about kind of the reasoning behind the skit and why she decided to focus that as her Netflix special episode. But personally, I was offended. I was hurt. I was just taken back by the fact that it's like, you know, it's whether this 2018, 2019, we're still making fun of fat people. Like, really? Like, is that like still a thing? And unfortunately it is, because why? People are bullied. Why? Because you can post content, and I see it for myself. You're too fat to do this. You shouldn't promote obesity, right? The conversation of health starts creeping in, which is, as you know, straight bullshit. You cannot tell if someone is healthy by just looking at them, because someone who's thin can be just as unhealthy as someone who's larger. So, you know, it's a thing. It really is. And personally, this is my personal belief, so you can take it as you see fit, and you can argue and debate with me, your choice. I'm always up for a good conversation. A couple of reasons why I think fat jokes are not necessary, right? Let's answer the question for today that we're talking about. One, fat stigma, right? I just mentioned it. People are still bullied. People are still challenged for being a bigger body in this country and in this world. So when you make fat jokes, are you bringing awareness to the issue, or are you perpetuating harm and anguish for that person? I think it's the latter, not the former. I think that, you know, being fat doesn't give people kind of a pass to be like, well, you're fat, so I'm going to make fun of you. I think it's unkind, and I think it's cruel. And whether you're fat telling the joke or not, I still think it's fat. I think it's unfair, and I think it's cruel. So no. Next, being fat doesn't mean that we've, like, again, signed on to being the punchline of jokes. I think that, you know, people and their fitness and their wellness journey and how large and how much small space they take up is their personal decision, and their medical history and all of that goes into there's a lot of factors that determine how we become, how small or big we are in this world. And I don't think it lends for comedic parody. I think it's bullshit, right? And I think that it's just like two separate things, right? Like, being a fat person in this world doesn't automatically lay you out for other things, even though media and society would seemingly make it seem that way, but it's really not. Next, being fat doesn't also mean that you're comfortable, like, hearing about it, right? Like, so maybe, like, so as a Black person, right, I'm used to hearing Black humor, Black jokes, right? Everyone knows the joke about, you know, and excuse me if anyone gets offended, but I'm not gonna tell the joke. But, like, if you may have heard, Black people like watermelon, right? Black people like fried chicken, like these types of stereotypes that are thrown into conversation or thrown into jokes. Maybe it offends you, maybe it doesn't. Like, I personally love fried chicken, and I personally love watermelon, but I don't think being Black has anything to do with it. I think it's just, yeah, like, culturally, it's something I was exposed to, but it's also just, like, flavor-wise, I actually enjoy that food. But can you honestly say that every single Black person likes watermelon and likes fried chicken? Probably not, right? Like, so, you know, I think that it's like overstepping, really. It's just going kind of out of the bounds, and it's just unnecessary. So please stop. Next, There's so many things in this world to laugh at other than people's appearance. I think it's wild that if you're gonna have the opportunity to be like on a Netflix special or any type of audience, right? When people have paid to see you, that's a fucking blessing. Like that's amazing, right? And that is an opportunity that you are now on a platform and you should take the most of it. And you should be creative enough to create a story and to tell parts of who you are and let us connect with you, the comedian or the public speaker. But like dipping down low and just literally talking about something so trivial as to how much people weigh, how wide your waist is, how much food you take, how can fat people have sex in this kind of way? Like, whoa. What's going on in the world, right? I think that it's just not creative, and I think it's not it's not even like long lasting, right? Sometimes when you hear speakers, whether comedians or not, and I'm going to get to this in a little bit, you want to think about the lasting effects, right? And I think that when you hear these jokes, it's just, I don't know, it's just like in, and then it stirs for 5 minutes and it's out. Like, at the end of the day, it's not memorable. I mean, the feelings probably of making someone feel shitty is probably more memorable, but the words itself, the language, the diction, all of that, just in and out. And it's like, at the end of the day, when you're creating a craft, are you trying to have a lasting effect? Are you trying to have build some type of community around the words and the platform you're building? Or are you just like another one who's just like talking shit, right? And it's just like, like, really? So, next, I would say, and this, I don't know if people ever think this, but just because you're fat, it doesn't mean you have tougher skin, right? If you think about it, most likely it's the opposite, right? Because what is something that most fat people or bigger bodies deal with in this world? We're joked about. We're constantly teased and tormented and challenged for, God forbid, deciding to be yourself and live your life, right? And so I don't know if there's a presumption that like if you're fat, like, oh, you got this, like obviously you know what's up. No, I don't know what the fuck's up. I really don't. So stop, kind of putting out this mantra, this content. And this doesn't just apply to Nicole. This is to like all comics really talking about fat people, right? I'm not singling out anyone, but her episode really kind of sparked this conversation for me. So I'm holding on to that. But she's definitely not the only person I've heard tell fat jokes this year. So, I'm just like, okay, enough, guys, like enough, like get a fucking like clue. This is enough. It's too much. And whether you're fat telling the jokes or not, it's still offensive and it's still unnecessary and it's still very cruel. Next, ultimately, these are my beliefs. So you can challenge them and you can question them. But generally, I think humor is supposed to uplift you. Like, I think humor is supposed to make you question your own reality. It's supposed to question how you have viewed life. It's supposed to question some of the funny things that have taken place in your life. Like, I'm a big fan of Kevin Hart. I really appreciate his storytelling, kind of mastery that he has developed. And I've seen him, me and Khalil, my husband, saw him when he was like years ago when he visited us at Penn State at college. And I've seen how as his career has grown and as his comedic abilities have grown, it's been amazing. And the storytelling is key. And I think that's the key to like really being an awesome speaker, really being an awesome comedian, and really connecting with your audience when you're talking, right? But this idea of just like cracking jokes, and oh my God, and she was ugly, and oh my God, he was fat, and da-da. Oh my God, that's not, it's not long standing, and it's so disjunctive. Usually when you hear joke after joke instead of storytelling, my mom used to be da-da-da, and my dad, and you bring it all together and you create this kind of holistic experience of humor and joy and like, oh my gosh, not in the, oh man, I can't believe that person said that kind of way, so I hope that makes sense. But really, I mean, do I need to go on? Yes, I do, because we have a couple more minutes before we have to close this out, so I will. I think I've come up with a couple of reasons. Listen, you know me, guys. If you follow along, I always have lists and things to talk about. And I've come up with the following 6 things that I think that if you are a communicator, whether you do stand-up, whether you do public speaking, whether you're a live streamer, you're an influencer, whatever title is before or after your name, I think you should think about the 6 following things. who are you talking to, right? So especially if you're in the comedic world, you're going to have an audience filled with fat people, filled with white people, black people, Asian people, pink blue people, right? Like queer, gay, transgender, like you don't know the mix of nuts that are going to come in the bag for you. So when you have such a diverse audience, what would be important? It would be important to figure out how to communicate something that's going to resonate with multiple audiences at the same time. Can you deliver on every single joke? Can you deliver on every single story? Maybe not, right? Some things maybe get bigger of a response than others, but at the end of the day, I don't think cornering or segmenting the conversation to a certain group is going to fare well for you ultimately, because you're going to either ostracize that group or you're going to celebrate that group, and to the detriment of other groups, right? And so I think it's really about thinking about diversity, really, and inclusion in how we communicate is vitally important, because that's how you're able to resonate and you're able to connect with more people. All right. Next, what are the main takeaways? When I watched Nicole's program, I was just like, she's a fat girl who really has an interesting take on being fat in this world, right? Like it was hard to hear anything else other than that, because she went in so hard on being fat and making fun of fatness. It was overwhelming. It was really like, it was just, it made me feel sick to my stomach, actually, because like I said, one or two jokes, okay, fine. If that's your role, that's your thing. But like 15 minutes of it, Jesus Christ, like, oh my God, there's so much more to talk about in 15 minutes than just being fat. So, what are the main takeaways? Because you want to come across as someone who knows what they're talking about. You want to come across to people, well, especially when you're doing public speaking, that you're entertaining, that this is something of one of many different things that they want to see and they want to tune into. You want to come across as being inviting. You want to come across as having confidence and having a sense of presence and self-love for yourself. You want to come across as someone who can relate to multiple people, and you don't want to kind of be kind of that bully. As we know, there's many public bullies in this world, and it really can rub people the wrong effing way, right? So I think those are just a couple of things and reasons that you should think about when you're putting together your script, when you're putting together your talking points. What are the takeaways? What are the three things people are going to walk away from whatever you're sharing, whether it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 hours, right? For me, for this program, I hope you take away the idea that, like, hey, Natasha Nurse, dressing room 8, coaching and consulting. She does live streams. Today, she talked about, the necessity of talking about having fat jokes and why she disagrees with them and ways to better communicate. Right? Like, those are the takeaways that I want you to have. But I don't want you to come off, if I were to do this program and I did a string of fat jokes, what would you think? You would think that I was a fat person who had an interesting take on being fat, because I'm making fun of my own community. You would think that maybe, I'm possibly not okay with being fat since I keep making fun of myself. That self-deprecating humor is so old and so tired. Try again. And you probably would think, wow, she's probably not a body positive advocate, because if you really were for body positivity, would you be making fun of a community that happens to be larger? No, not quite. Right? So just some things to think about. Next, why should the audience care about what you're speaking about? And this is important because I myself, as a speaker, put together my notes, put together talking points. And what, at the end of the day, I might have an agenda of all the things that I want to say, but ultimately, am I just going to sit and watch all my videos? No, the point is to have you, the world, tuned in, you on YouTube Live, you on Facebook Live, right? So at the end of the day, if I want you to consume my content, then shouldn't I fucking speak to you? Like, shouldn't I create and ask for your opinion and create programs in line with whatever the brand is that I'm building and whatever the message is for this platform, right? Like, I think we need to think about the connection between what we do and who's receiving it. Because if you are a coach, I'm a coach, right? If you are a consultant, you gotta make sure that people want to pay you for your shit, right? You're not paying yourself. So at the end of the day, what are you giving your people? What are you giving your fans? What are you giving your community? And if they don't effing care about what the hell you're saying, then you need to switch the script, because it's not working, right? We can't talk about X and everyone listening wants to hear about Y. Doesn't make any sense. So that's number 3. Number 4, how are you making them feel? Right? Maya, the great Maya Angelou once said, you know, people will forget what you did or what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Vital. One of the most important things you'll ever hear in your life. I adored Maya Angelou. I still like cry that I never got to meet that queen in my life, because she was everything to me, and she will always be everything to me. And at the end of the day, how we make people feel is how you make more money. It's how you get booked as a speaker. It's how you get invited to do programs. It's how you get invited to to be involved in business opportunities, teaching opportunities, right? How you make people feel is what makes them pick up the phone. It's what makes them email you. It's what makes them want more and more and more of you. It's really not just what you said, right? Yes, you definitely want to be accurate. Yes, you definitely want to have a clear, consistent message. You definitely want to be easily understandable, right? But at the end of the day, if you make people fucking feel something, they will eat you up like fucking cornbread, fried chicken, watermelon, the whole kabam. You'll be Thanksgiving every freaking time. Every freaking time. So how you make people feel. And there's so much that goes into that. And I'm happy to do a separate program about that. If you want, please put that in the comments. Let me know. Hey, Tasha, I want to know your tips on making people feel more during public speaking. If that's something that's important to you, let me know. Because I have found my own personal kind of regimen when it comes to delivering on passion, delivering on importance and things like that. So put that in the comments and let me know. YouTube Live, Facebook Live, let me know. But yeah, it's that feeling, guys, right? You have to make people feel something when you speak. You have to say things with such emphasis and watch your tone and watch your you know, the way that you deliver sentences can be everything, right? Why do people love Tony Robbins? Why do people love Marie Forleo, right? Like, why do people love Damon John? Certain people in our lives, when they speak, it's like magic. It's just magic that comes out of their mouth. And it's because of the work and the time they took to learn how to deliver that effing message, guys. It really, like Gary Vee, right? People know when they listen to something from Gary Vaynerchuk, a certain type of feeling, a certain type of tone is going to come through him and come through you. So you gotta think about that, right? Next, is this something they're likely to share? So after watching that Netflix show with all the different comedians, but specifically Nicole Byer, do you think that's something that I was like, oh my God, friends, go check this out? F no. I was like, oh my goodness. That was like a thumbs down, right? Like, oh, I mean, I'm happy for her. Listen, it's a conflicting situation, because as a fellow Black woman, as another plus size person, I'm excited that she was able to have that opportunity. And again, bring awareness to women comedians, because that's not as common as it should be in 2019. Bring awareness to Black comedians, because again, it's not something that we always dominate in. But when you get up there and then you deliver that type of program, right? So it's very kind of conflicting for me, because I want to champion, and I do champion her. I champion anyone who has an opportunity to succeed. I'm of the belief system that when one of us win, we all win, right? So and when I mean we, I'm talking about the human race. Like, I like to think in a collective. That's just where I'm at with my life. So when someone wins, we all win. When someone hurts, we all hurt. It works both ways, right? It's a community. That's the approach I'm taking to life. Join me on that, and we'll make a better world. If you don't, we'll continue to fight and bicker and quarrel over nothingness. And that's just the world that it is. It's real simple. All or none. That's just kind of how we have to do things here. But sadly, it wasn't something that I was going to share. And I'm not of the belief that, like, and I've changed this for the past couple of years, and I felt good about it. You know, when you see something and it's like awful, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. Oh my God. And you share it and it's like super negative. You know what you just did, right? You added to the conversation to allow more people to consume this negative shit, to consume this negative content. And like, I get it. You want to share it with your friends. I get that you want to invite these people, your network, into this to have opinions and join in the conversation. However, should we be perpetrating more negativity? No, right? We should be stopping it. So when you see something negative, Yeah, maybe you can talk about it, but don't share the fucking link. Don't share the videos. Like it's just it's just adding to the conversation in a way that I don't think you want and I don't think we think about. So I personally don't share negative videos like publicly because I think it doesn't help. It's not helping the situation, right? To be like, "Oh my God, this is so terrible." It, I think, if you're reporting news, then that's an exception that totally makes sense. If you see someone being victimized, it's super negative, but you have to share it so that it gets kind of viral attention so that it doesn't happen again, right? That's one thing. But when you just see kind of making fun of, like, those videos where you see people like falling down on their ass and like busting their ass, like you laughed, but it's terrible. That person could have hurt themselves. Like, that's terrible. Why are we sharing this? Like, that's no, absolutely not. So sadly, that wasn't something that I'd want to share. So think about that. When you're creating content, again, public speaker, comedian, whatever the case may be, are you creating something that's shareable? Are you creating something where someone's going to be like, you know what? Yeah, because it doesn't take a lot to share, but yet sadly it does, right? Because negativity definitely shares much easier than positivity. That's just because our brains, again, are hardwired for negativity. So we're negatively, like, it's just in our bones. It's a part of our survivalness. So it's our in our bones, but we can counter it, right? You can always change and flip the script, but it takes work. And so to press the share button, even though it doesn't seem like a lot for some reason, right? People out here were creating content and you see a shit ton of negativity and it totally trumps the positivity. We got to make positive more shareable. We got to make positive more enticing. We got to make positive the shareable thing, not the negative bullshit that we've seen for how many years? I'm turning 33. For many, many years, I've seen negative shit. And I see it more than positive, and it's frustrating and it's tiring. So again, join me in that pledge to stop sharing negative shit. Again, share news. News is different because news technically is negative most of the time because it's, shit that's happening in our world. But news needs to be shared because we need to know what's happening in the world. But negative commentary about people, negative comics, just like totally eviscerating people. No, not funny. Next, and this is a goodie, guys. Are you creating enemies or friends with the content and the message you have in this world? And if you think about this, you can go political, you can go media, you can go social, right? Like there's so many ways that you can go with that. Politically speaking, the leaders in this world, are they creating enemies or are fans out of what they say, what they do in this world? For some people, and this Gesture Made is not typically like a political platform, so I don't hit it too much here. I mean, I do a little bit on social media, but generally speaking, right, what are we seeing in our politics? We see a lot of enemies being made out of the words and the hatred and the spewing of craziness that comes out of certain people's mouths, right? And in media, right, who are the people who are creating fans and creating friends? Who are the people who are creating enemies, right? So it's something to think about. You have to decide which side of the line you want to be on. That's a personal decision. If you want my advice is, it's always better to have more friends than enemies, right? Because the more people that like you, the more people that vibe with you, the more likely they're going to share your content, the more likely they're going to want to work with you, the more likely they're going to want to support, your new book deal, your new tour, your new, right? Like, but if you keep creating enemies out of what you say and what you do in this world, is that really the smartest thing that you could do? Think about it. So I have 3 like final little things that I would love to say to comics specifically. And so any comic who's listening, Nicole, if you're listening at some point, hello, my dear. Thank you for tuning in. For any other comic, take a listen to these 3 tips that I personally have, especially within the guise of talking about fat jokes. Number 1, being funny does not have to be cruel. Those are 2 separate concepts. You can be funny without being cruel. Okay, so if that's something that you want to challenge me on, let's go at that and let's talk about it. But personally, because I know I have laughed at things that were funny and not cruel, I know it exists. I've heard at least one joke be funny and not be cruel. So there's that. Next, you've got to stand for something, right? So if you don't stand for something in this world, you'll fall for anything. What do I mean by that? If you personally don't have kind of a certain line that you will not cross, then you potentially could do anything and everything in this world. And that's scary. You need to stand for something. So for me, like, I don't want to be a part of anything that's racist. I'm a Black person. I want to support my community. Ha, go figure. I'm a feminist. I stand for women's rights. Always. I stand for women to decide what happens to their bodies. Who and what they do in this world is their personal choice, and the type of activities they choose to do. I stand for that because I am a feminist and I am a woman, and I don't want to be told what I can and cannot do with my body, what I can and cannot say, what I can and cannot do in this world. I stand for that because it affects me personally. And also it's just a part of my belief system. So what do you stand for in this world? So if you're a comic, do you stand for making fun of people or not? Do you stand for ostracizing people or not? Do you stand for making enemies or fans? What do you stand for? And make that a principal core of the work that you do and the content you create. And when you do, I think you would start to feel kind of good about the fact that, these are your limits and you're not fucking crossing them. And that's the end of that. Like, done, right? And that's the end. So there. Not too hard. And then the last tip I have, kind of my little open letter of 3 comments to comics, is, it takes creativity to tell stories. It takes creativity to connect with your audience in a whole new way. It is not creative to go and tell a joke that's about fat people, to go and tell a joke about people's skin color, to go and tell a joke about how poor someone is, how rich someone is. It's not creative, right? Anyone can do that. I could come up on here and do a whole skit on being fat. I could do a whole skit on being Black. It's not fucking creative. Like, it just really isn't. But you know what is creative? If I tell you a story about how being fat affected me in my life, or how ultimately, being who I am and the experiences I've had and the people and how they've spoken to me, how they've kind of crafted and molded the person I am today. That takes creativity. That takes time. It's not something that I could just roll off the tongue, right? So think about that. Think about the type of content you're creating and how much creativity is going into what you're saying in this world. So that's my spiel on that. Not too hardcore, right? If you agree, disagree, YouTube Live, put it in the comments. Facebook Live, put it in the comments. Let your girl know. And now, essentially, we're at the end, guys. I hope you really enjoy this program. A couple of things to do. First, if we're not friends online, let's be friends. Come on. Go to dressingroom8.com and you can subscribe to the blog. You can subscribe to the newsletter, and you can check out the calendar. There's a calendar app there's an events page that you can go on, but also if you're on your mobile, you'll see the calendar app. It tells you the 3 next upcoming events. Tune in. I'm doing an event tomorrow. All day, every day, you will see me doing something. Whether I'm doing an event, I'm sharing a social, I stay on the internet. The internet is my friend. My husband knows, Khalil. I will scream whenever I do not have access to the internet. I love it. It gives me fuel and passion. And I think that if we're not friends, we should totally be friends. Let's be friends. Okay. So go to dressingroom8.com and let's be friends. If you want to talk to me individually, if you really something sparked in what I was saying or how I was making you feel, you can always schedule a session to talk with me. Again, like I said early in the program, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant. Primarily, I'm working with people on business and lifestyle matters that they want to improve or elevate. So if that's something you're interested in, go to dressingroom8.com, schedule a session with me. If you want to email me because you just had something specific or quick you wanted to say, you can always reach me at Natasha@dressingroom8.com. All right. So thank you for tuning in. That is the end of our session. Woohoo! I had fun. I hope you had fun. Tell me if you had fun. Put it in the comments. I adore you. I appreciate your time. You're awesome. Stay tuned for the next upcoming Dressing Room 8 event. All right. So I'm going to say goodbye. And I miss you guys. Let's do this again soon. I'll see you tomorrow. Be good, guys. Bye.